Hello, friends. So, this is a new attempt in my YouTube series, and it's not a book review, but it's an insight sharing or the concepts that influence from reading this book named Triggers by Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. It is a phenomenal book that I would suggest everyone to read. It's a very simple book, and of course, there are wonderful stories that can inspire us. But what is triggers? Triggers, in short, it's all about the behaviors. Marshall puts it so well that this book is all about human behaviors, the behaviors that is triggered through the environment that we are. That could be a work environment, that could be a personal environment, that could be any kind of environment that triggers a behavior. And how do we use these triggers for success? It's all about in this book. Now, let's get into a story to understand a few of the concepts that I loved from this book. It is absolutely my influences. I would not say this as a book review at all. So, let us look into the story of Nadeem. So, who's Nadeem? Nadeem is a Pakistani by birth. Immigrated to UK when he was a child with his family. Nadeem, in fact, graduated from the London School of Economics, and today he holds one of the top 5 positions in his organization. Nadeem is one of the rising stars, eligible for the CEO or groomed to be the next CEO. He's smart, hardworking, respected by his friends, associates, peers. But some chinks in his nice guy reputation has brought this opportunity to hire Marshall Goldsmith to partner with Nadeem and smoothen those behaviors. So, what is Nadeem triggered all about? Nadeem is triggered all about by the Simon environment. But before we see what is Simon environment, let us see who Simon is. Simon is a Brit. He he was a product of the British privileged class, an elite school. Sarcasm was his way of reminding people of his background. Simon loves to elevate himself and diminishes others. And the most important thing that we have to know about Simon is he loves to bait Nadeem quite often whenever they encounter in meetings or boardrooms. So that's where the Simon environment is created in Nadeem's mind. But Simon looks like this in Nadeem's world. And this is where Coach Marshall Goldsmith partners with Nadeem to work with Nadeem and then figure it out and then see what can be done to help Nadeem in this situation. Coach does a survey and the survey conveys one important thing. It's this: Nadeem always loses his cool whenever he encounters or whenever he is challenged by Simon. And upon asking to Nadeem, Nadeem says one thing, that he is a racist. Simon is a racist. And when coach challenges him, do you have any proofs or anything further to probe about the situation? Nadeem has nothing. It is just his behavior, and the coach totally understands the situation. But if Nadeem sustains in the same situation for long, the consequences could even cost his job, cost Nadeem's job, in fact, because it is his behavior, not Simon's behavior. He is the one who loses cool, not Simon. And Nadeem has to understand the situation and has to take some actions. And this is where the coach has to play a phenomenal role to make Nadeem understand and take responsibility of his behaviors and make him understand about the situation that is happening around him. So the coach focuses on 3 major things: that Nadeem's behavior is not serving his purpose, and he's always triggered whenever Simon challenges him. And the third most important thing, it is Nadeem who has to take the responsibility for change and not Simon to change in this environment. Because he is the one who is in the prospective CEO's list, not Simon. So it is to think all those aspects in mind. It is Nadeem's responsibility to take the complete ownership of his behavior in this scenario, and coach has to make Nadeem understand. So this is where the coach plays a wonderful role. Upon their partnership, coach introduces a wonderful concept named the empty boat. So what is this empty boat? It is a Buddhist story. It is a parable, in fact. A young farmer was covered with sweat as he paddled his boat up the river. He was going upstream to deliver his products to the village. It was a very hot day and he wanted to make his delivery and get home before dark. As he looked ahead, he spied another vessel heading rapidly downstream towards his boat. The young farmer shouted, "Change direction, you're going to hit me." He cried out, "You idiot, how could you come? You drive your boat towards this direction and it is gonna hit," and then tadal, it hits. As he glared into the boat, seeking out who's responsible for this action, and in fact for this accident, he realized that there was no one else in the boat. He had been screaming at an empty boat that had broken free of its moorings and was floating downstream with the current. The story doesn't end there, and this is where Simon's environment is again challenged. The coach asks Nadeem, "Can you envision the person now? And do you think that Simon loses his sleep thinking about you?" Nadeem accepts no. Then in this case, who is being punished here? Who is doing the punishing here? When coach asked this, Nadeem totally accepted that it is him. It is him, none other than that. This was the first level of awareness in Nadeem's mind, and this was in fact a breakthrough. But having an awareness is not enough. This is where the coach introduces a series of another concept called the questioning. Why an awareness doesn't alone serves a purpose in bringing in a human behavioral changes. Bringing in a behavioral change is the toughest thing. We can say just change your behavior, but it doesn't happen just like that. In this situation, it took almost 6 months for Nadeem to change, and that's where Marshall Goldsmith introduces a wonderful art of questioning, art of powerful questioning, the power of active questioning, in fact. So, what is active and passive questions? Passive question we would have noticed in most of the surveys, employee surveys. Do you have a clear goal? Let's say, for an example, do you have a clear goal? Is a wonderful example of a passive question. When this question is asked, most of our response is no, or my manager didn't set me a goal, or my organization didn't set me a goal. So we try to pass the blame onto someone else, or to some entity, or into a third person. But what is the phenomenal benefit of an active question is, did I do my best? Let us rephrase the same question here. Did I do my best to set a clear goal? So it drives a person, the individual, to take an action, to take some course of action. This is the power of an active question. So active questioning was introduced in Nadeem's world or Nadeem's coaching partnership, and he introduces 6 questions. You can tweak these questions according to the behaviors that we are targeting, and here we have targeted, did I do my best to build positive relationships? Did I do my best to be fully engaged at work? So these were the set of questions that were introduced, and Nadeem wonderfully started working on his behaviors. From the very first month, he started working. Apart from his work hours, apart from this, he did follow-ups with the coach and to show his progress. In fact, in the first few days, even Nadeem had a little resistance because he was taking only 50% of the responsibility of his change, and that's where the coach elevates the scale, rises the scale. Did I try 80%? Why don't you give it an 80% in terms of Simon's behavioral change? In terms of your behavioral change against Simon. And that's where he scales it up initially. Did I try 80% with Simon? Did I do my best to create positive relationships? And the set of questions follows. And after 6 months, Deem of course brings in a change. He in fact he accepts that it is not just 80% alone is necessary. He has to be totally responsible, 100%, and sometimes more than that is essential to bring in a better behavioral change. And this is how Nadeem looks at the end of 6 months. He looks much more calm and composed. And in fact, because of his behavioral change, he was even able to trigger the behaviors of Simon. Simon started changing into a much more friendly situation because of Nadeem's influence. This is what happens when a structure is involved, when an awareness is in place. So Marshall wonderfully puts it in this book. It is not just the awareness alone. Awareness, of course, plays a key role, but plus you should have a structure in place. The structure could be your questions, your daily questions, your hourly questions, or any forms of engaging questions to bring in the behavioral change inside a person. That's how Simon starts engaging with his teams, and he became one of the CEOs in the organization. The story ends there. And of course, it had a happy. So, this is the little lesson that I've learned from this book, Triggers. If you really like this video, please subscribe to this channel. I'm sure I would like to hear your thoughts and experiences as well. Thank you.